You weren't born to arrive. You were born to become. And that's the tragedy most people will never understand. They think the finish line is a place to rest. They think success is a chair you sit in. They think comfort is the reward for hard work. But I'm here to tell you something that might shake the foundation of everything you believe. Comfort is not your reward. Comfort is your assassin. It will smile at you while it stabs your future in the back. Listen to me carefully. The most dangerous place in the world is not the valley of struggle. It's not the desert of failure. It's not even the pit of depression. The most dangerous place you will ever stand is on the mountain of your last victory. Believing you've arrived, believing you're done, believing you can finally exhale and just exist. Because the moment you start protecting what you have, instead of pursuing what you could become, you begin to die. Not physically, something worse. You die creatively. You die spiritually. You die as a dreamer. And people will attend your funeral every day without even knowing you're gone. You see, there's something they don't teach you about success. They don't tell you that every peak is designed to be a platform, not a prison. They don't tell you that every achievement is supposed to be a launching pad, not a landing strip. And because nobody tells you this, you celebrate yourself into mediocrity. You reward yourself into irrelevance. You comfort yourself into oblivion. I've watched it happen 1,000 times. Someone breaks through. Someone conquers. Someone achieves what nobody thought was possible. And then silence. Not the silence of preparation. The silence of satisfaction. The silence of someone who stopped asking what's next and started asking, isn't this enough? And the universe has a very specific answer to that question. The answer is no. It's never enough. Not because you're greedy, not because you're ungrateful, but because you were designed by a creator who never stops creating. You were fashioned after an image that never stops imagining. Your manufacturer built you with a purpose that can't be fulfilled by standing still. And when you stop moving, when you stop growing, when you stop reaching, you're not just disappointing yourself. You're violating your design. Think about a lion for a moment. Not the ones in cages, not the ones in zoos who've forgotten what they are. Think about a lion in the wild, standing in his territory after a successful hunt. His belly is full, the pride is fed. The sun is setting, everything is peaceful, beautiful, even. But you know what that lion doesn't do? He doesn't retire. He doesn't say, I've hunted enough. He doesn't look at his past kills and decide that's sufficient proof of his identity. Because that lion understands something profound. His nature isn't defined by what he did yesterday. His nature is defined by what he is. And what he is a hunter, not was, is. And so are you. You are not what you did. You are not your resume. You are not your bank account. You are not your degrees or your titles or your achievements. You are your nature. And your nature is to create, to build, to grow, to expand, to become. The moment you stop expressing your nature, you start experiencing death. And most people call that death comfort. I need you to understand something that changed my life when I finally grasped it. Every manufacturer designs a product with a purpose. Your phone wasn't made to just exist. Your car wasn't built to just sit in the garage. Everything that's created has a function. And here's the key. The purpose of a thing determines the potential of a thing. Let me say that again because it's crucial. The purpose of a thing determines the potential of a thing. A seed doesn't have the potential to become a building. It has the potential to become a tree. Why? Because that's its purpose. That's its design. That's what's coded into its DNA. And you, my friend, you were coded. You were programmed. You were designed with purpose embedded in every cell of your being. And that purpose didn't come with an expiration date. But here's what happens. You achieve something. Maybe you graduate. Maybe you get the job. Maybe you make the money. Maybe you build the business. Maybe you win the award. And suddenly you look at that achievement and you think, this is it. This is what I was made for. And you set up camp. You get comfortable. You start maintaining instead of creating. And that's when the slow death begins. Because that achievement, that was just one seed in your garden bearing fruit. But you have an entire orchard inside you. You have forests in your future. You have harvests you haven't even planted yet. And you're sitting under one tree, proud of one apple, while the earth beneath your feet is crying out for more seeds. The graveyard is the richest place on earth. You know why? Because it's filled with dreams that were never pursued, books that were never written, businesses that were never started, music that was never composed, love that was never expressed, potential that was never activated. And you want to know what killed all those dreams? It wasn't failure. It wasn't lack of talent. It wasn't bad timing. It was comfort. It was the warm bed that whispered, stay a little longer. It was the safe job that promised you're secure here. It was the familiar routine that seduced you with predictability. It was the voice in your head that said, you've done enough. You've proven yourself. You can rest now. But rest is not the same as retirement. Recovery is not the same as resignation. And there's a massive difference between a pause and a period. Your life is not a sentence that ends with your last success. Your life is a story that's supposed to keep unfolding, chapter after chapter, until the author decides it's finished. And until that moment comes, you have no right to close the book yourself. I want to talk to someone specific right now. I want to talk to the person who's been coasting. You know who you are. You did something great 5 years ago, maybe 10, maybe even last year. And you've been living off the fumes of that victory ever since. You tell the story at parties. You reference it in conversations. You use it as proof that you're still relevant, still capable, still in the game. But you're not in the game. You're in the commentary box. You're analyzing your old plays. You're reminiscing about your old glory. You've become a historian of your own life instead of an author of new chapters. And I need you to hear this with love, but with absolute clarity. Your past success does not give you permission to present stagnation. What you did was beautiful. What you accomplished was real. What you achieved mattered. But it's not currency for tomorrow. It's not a license for laziness. It's not a hard pass to skip the rest of your life. Because here's what you don't realize. Comfort is not neutral. Comfort is not passive. Comfort is aggressively anti-growth. Comfort is a gravitational force that pulls you backward while convincing you you're standing still. And the longer you stay in it, the heavier it becomes. Until one day you want to move and you realize you can't. Not because you lost the ability, but because you lost the appetite. That's the real danger of comfort. It doesn't just stop your movement. It kills your hunger. It doesn't just pause your progress. It murders your desire. And a person without desire is a person without direction. A person without hunger is a person without purpose. And a person without purpose is already dead, just waiting for their body to catch up with their spirit. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but I'm tired. I've fought so hard. I've climbed so many mountains. Don't I deserve to rest? And my answer is yes. Absolutely yes. Rest, recover, replenish. Take the time you need to heal, to reflect, to restore. But don't confuse rest with residence. Don't turn your rest stop into your final destination. Don't let your intermission become your ending. Because the Creator who gave you the strength to climb the first mountain didn't design you to camp at the summit. He designed you to descend, to apply what you learned, to use your elevation, to gain perspective, and then to identify the next mountain. He's calling you to climb. Every season of your life is meant to prepare you for the next. Every victory is meant to give you confidence for the next battle. Every lesson is meant to equip you for the next level. Nothing in your life is wasted unless you waste it by stopping. Let me tell you something about seeds. When you plant a seed in the ground, something remarkable happens. That seed dies. It breaks. It cracks open. And in that death, in that breaking, in that cracking, life emerges. The seed becomes something greater than itself. But here's what's important. The seed doesn't feel comfortable during this process. It feels pressure. It feels darkness. It feels constraint. And if that seed could speak, it might say, I was comfortable as a seed. I was safe in my shell. I was protected in my form. Why is this happening to me? But the soil knows something the seed doesn't. The darkness knows something the seed will only understand later. The pressure is not punishment. The pressure is preparation. The breaking is not destruction. The breaking is transformation. And you, right now, wherever you are, whatever season you're in, you are that seed. And if you're feeling pressure, if you're feeling stretch, if you're feeling uncomfortable, good. That means you're still growing. That means you're still in process. That means your story isn't over. But if you're feeling comfortable, if everything is predictable, if nothing is challenging you, if you found your rhythm and your routine and your resting place, I need you to ask yourself an honest question. Am I growing or am I dying? Because those are your only two options. There is no neutral. There is no maintenance mode. You are either expanding or contracting. You are either becoming or decaying. You are either pursuing purpose or preserving comfort. And you cannot do both. I've lived long enough to see patterns. I've observed enough lives to recognize cycles. And I can tell you without hesitation that the greatest tragedy in human existence is not the person who tries and fails. It's the person who succeeds and stops. It's the person who reaches a milestone and mistakes it for a finish line. It's the person who achieves something significant and then spends the rest of their life guarding it instead of growing from it. There's a story about a runner who wins a race. The crowd cheers, the medals are given, the moment is celebrated, but then something strange happens. The runner refuses to leave the track. He stands at the finish line, pointing at it, reminding everyone that he crossed it, that he won, that he succeeded. Days pass, other races happen, other runners compete. But this runner remains frozen at his finish line, defending his victory, protecting his achievement, living off the memory of that one race. And people begin to forget him, not because his victory wasn't real, but because he became irrelevant. He became a monument to the past instead of a movement toward the future. That runner is too many of us. We cross a finish line and we think the race is over. But life is not one race. Life is a relay. Life is a marathon that spans your entire existence. And every finish line is just a marker that says you have the strength to go further. But comfort tells you to stop. Comfort tells you you've earned the right to relax. Comfort tells you that forward movement is for people who haven't achieved what you've achieved. And if you believe that lie, if you accept that deception, you will spend the rest of your life as a living monument, impressive to look at, but completely inactive. I want to challenge you with something radical. What if your greatest achievement is not behind you? What if everything you've done so far was just preparation? What if your resume is not your identity, but your training? What if your past success was not the destination, but the qualification for what's coming next? What if God, the universe, your creator, allowed you to win that battle so you would have the confidence to fight the war? What if he let you climb that mountain so you could learn to breathe at high altitudes? What if he gave you that victory so you would understand your capacity? And what if right now, while you're comfortable, while you're coasting, while you're celebrating yesterday, he's calling you to tomorrow? What if there's a purpose in your future that requires everything you've learned from your past? What if there's a person who needs what only you can give, but they can't receive it until you step back into motion? You see, this isn't just about you. This is bigger than your comfort. This is bigger than your contentment. When you stop growing, you don't just rob yourself, you rob everyone connected to your purpose. You rob the people who were supposed to be inspired by your next chapter. You rob the world of the contribution that only you were designed to make. Your gifts were not given to you for you. They were given through you for others. And when you park yourself in the garage of past success, when you retire your gifts to the shelf of memory, when you silence your voice because you think you've said enough, you commit an act of cosmic theft. You steal from the future what was meant to bless it. Now let me speak to the voice in your head. The voice that says, but I'm not qualified for more. I'm not ready for the next level. What I did before was a fluke. I got lucky. I can't do it again. That voice is a liar. That voice is fear dressed up as humility. That voice is comfort disguised as wisdom. And that voice does not deserve a seat at the table of your decision making. You were qualified for your last victory because you pursued it. You'll be qualified for your next one because you pursue that too. Qualification is not a prerequisite for movement. Qualification is a result of obedience. You don't get ready and then go. You go, and the going makes you ready. Every expert was once a beginner. Every master was once a student. Every giant was once a seed. And the only difference between the person who became and the person who stayed the same is movement. One kept going, one stopped. And stopping is so seductive because it feels responsible. It feels wise. It feels mature. You tell yourself you're being realistic. You're being practical. You're being smart. But you're not being any of those things. You're being afraid. And you're using comfort as the mask. Comfort is not peace. Let me say that again because it's critical. Comfort is not peace. Peace is knowing you're in alignment with your purpose, even when the path is difficult. Comfort is avoiding difficulty, even when the path requires it. Peace will walk you through fire if the fire leads to purpose. Comfort won't even let you feel the heat. Peace trusts the process. Comfort trusts the pattern. Peace says, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Comfort says, I'm exactly where it's safe to be. And those are two completely different positions. I'm speaking to someone who's been playing it safe, someone who's been protecting their reputation, someone who's been guarding their image, someone who's been maintaining their status. And I'm telling you right now, let it go. Release it. Stop holding on so tightly to what is that. You miss what could be. Your reputation is not your responsibility. Your purpose is. Your image is not your assignment. Your impact is. Your status is not your calling. Your service is. And the moment you become more concerned with protecting what you have than pursuing what you're meant to do, you've already lost. Not publicly, not obviously, but internally. You've traded your destiny for your comfort. And that's a transaction you'll regret for the rest of your life. There's a question I want you to ask yourself, and I want you to answer it honestly, not quickly. If you were to die tomorrow, would you be satisfied with what you've contributed? Would you be at peace with the seeds you've planted? Would you feel complete knowing this was the extent of your impact? If the answer is yes, if you genuinely feel fulfilled and finished, then I celebrate you. But if there's even a whisper in your spirit, even a small voice that says, there's more, then you have no business being comfortable. You have no right to be complacent. You have no permission to be idle. Because that whisper, that's not doubt. That's not insecurity. That's not inadequacy. That's purpose knocking. That's destiny calling. That's the Creator reminding you that you're not done yet. And you can ignore it. You can silence it. You can distract yourself from it. But you can't kill it. It will haunt you. It will follow you. It will whisper to you in your quietest moments, reminding you of the potential you chose to bury under the blanket of comfort. Here's what I've learned. After all these years, after all the victories and failures, after all the mountains and valleys, life is not about arriving. Life is about becoming. It's not about what you did. It's about what you're being transformed into. And transformation requires motion. It requires change. It requires the willingness to leave the familiar for the unknown. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly by staying comfortable. The coal doesn't become a diamond by avoiding pressure. The clay doesn't become a vessel by resisting the potter's hands, and you will not become who you were created to be by choosing comfort over calling. So I'm asking you, I'm challenging you, I'm calling you to rise again, not because you fell, but because you stopped. Not because you failed, but because you settled. Not because you're broken, but because you're dormant. And dormant is just another word for potential that's refusing to move. You have chapters left to write. You have songs left to sing. You have battles left to fight. You have mountains left to climb. You have people left to impact. You have seeds left to plant. You have dreams left to pursue. But none of that happens from your couch. None of that happens from your comfort zone. None of that happens from the safety of what you already know. It happens when you make a decision that shakes the foundation of your current reality. It happens when you choose purpose over pleasure. It happens when you say, with every fiber of your being, I refuse to let my past success become my future prison. Let me tell you something else that comfort does. It makes you selective with your memory. You remember the applause, but you forget the grind. You remember the victory, but you forget the sacrifice. You remember standing on the stage, but you forget the nights you couldn't sleep because you were building something nobody believed in. And because you only remember the highlight reel, you think the next level should come easy. You think the next mountain should require less effort. You think because you've proven yourself once, the universe owes you a shortcut. But that's not how growth works. That's not how purpose operates. Every new level demands a new version of you. Every new season requires new sacrifice. Every new mountain has its own climate, its own challenges, its own requirements for the climb. And comfort wants you to believe that you've paid your dues. Comfort wants you to think you've earned the right to cruise. Comfort wants you to feel entitled to ease. But comfort is lying to you. Because ease is not the reward for purpose-driven people. Impact is, legacy is, transformation is. You weren't created to be comfortable. You were created to be consequential. And there's a universe of difference between those two words. Consequential people change things. They shift atmospheres. They alter trajectories. They leave the world different than they found it. And that kind of impact doesn't come from a place of comfort. It comes from a place of constant, intentional, sometimes uncomfortable growth. I've met people who peaked at 25 and spent the next 40 years talking about it. I've met people who achieved something remarkable at 30 and built a monument to it instead of a momentum from it. I've met people who had one great idea, one successful venture, one powerful moment, and they've been trying to milk it for decades. And it's tragic. Not because what they did was insignificant, but because what they could have done will never be known. The books they could have written remain unwritten. The businesses they could have built remain ideas. The people they could have mentored never received the wisdom. The impact they could have multiplied stayed singular. All because they chose the comfort of past success over the calling of future significance. Don't be that person. Don't let your biography be shorter than it was supposed to be because you stopped writing chapters. Don't let your legacy be smaller than it was designed to be because you stopped creating. Don't let your impact be limited because you decided that enough was enough, because it's not enough. Not if there's still breath in your lungs, not if there's still fire in your spirit, not if there's still a whisper of purpose saying there's more. Now listen to me very carefully. I want to talk about something that nobody else will tell you. I want to talk about the cost of staying where you are, because everyone talks about the cost of moving forward. They talk about the risk of trying. They talk about the danger of failing. They talk about what you might lose if you step out. But nobody talks about what you're losing right now by staying put. Every day you stay comfortable, you're paying a price. Every morning you wake up and choose safety over significance, there's a cost. Every time you silence that voice inside you that says there's more, you're spending currency you can't get back. And that currency is called time. Time is the one resource you can't manufacture. You can make more money. You can build new relationships. You can gain new skills. You can recover from failure, but you cannot create more time. Every moment you waste in the comfortable zone is a moment you'll never get back. Every day you spend protecting yesterday is a day stolen from tomorrow. And here's what haunts me. What keeps me awake at night? What drives me to speak these words with such urgency? I've seen too many people wake up at 60, 70, 80 years old with the sudden realization that they had more to give. I've watched the light come back into eyes that had been dim for decades. I've seen people finally remember who they really are, what they were really made for, what they were really capable of. And you know what breaks my heart? It's not that they discovered it too late. It's that they knew it all along. They knew it at 40. They knew it at 30. They knew it at 25. But they were comfortable. They were safe. They were protecting what they had instead of pursuing what they could become. Don't let that be your story. Don't let comfort write your ending. Don't let fear disguised as wisdom rob you of your future. Because you know, deep in your soul, you know there's more. You feel it. It wakes you up at 3 in the morning. It whispers to you during quiet moments. It tugs at your spirit when you see someone else doing what you know you're capable of doing. That feeling is not condemnation. That feeling is invitation. That restlessness is not punishment. That restlessness is possibility. That discontent is not a sign that something is wrong with you. That discontent is a sign that something is right with you. It means you're still alive. It means you're still connected to your purpose. It means the dream isn't dead, it's just dormant. And dormant things can be awakened. Seeds that have been buried can still sprout. Gifts that have been shelved can still be activated. Dreams that have been deferred can still be pursued. But only if you make the decision. Only if you take the step. Only if you choose movement over comfort. So get up, move again, dream again, risk again, create again, build again, become again. Because comfort will destroy your dreams, but movement will resurrect them. And the world is waiting for what only you can bring. Your next chapter is calling. It's been calling for a while now. You've heard it, you've felt it, you've known it. And today, right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can keep hitting the snooze button on your destiny, or you can finally answer. The choice is yours. But understand this, choosing not to choose is still a choice. Staying where you are is not neutral. It's not safe. It's not wise. It's deadly. So choose life. Choose growth. Choose purpose. Choose the uncomfortable, uncertain, uncharted path that leads to who you were always meant to become. Because that person, that version of you that's been waiting, that's been calling, that's been knocking on the door of your consciousness, that person deserves to exist. That person deserves to be born. That person deserves to live, and the world deserves to meet them. Your next chapter is calling, and it's time to answer. Most people spend their lives chasing a finish line that doesn't exist. They think the goal is arrival, the job, the degree, the house, the success. But arrival was never the point. You weren't born to arrive. You were born to become. And that distinction changes everything. Comfort is the great deceiver. It whispers that you've done enough, that you've proven yourself, that you can finally relax. But comfort is not your reward, it's your assassin. It will hold you still while your future quietly slips away. The most dangerous place in life isn't the valley of failure or the desert of struggle. It's the summit of your last success. Because when you start protecting what you have instead of pursuing what you could become, you begin to die, not physically, but creatively, spiritually, purposefully. Every success is supposed to be a platform, not a prison. Yet too many people build homes on mountains meant only for moments. They confuse completion with calling. They celebrate themselves into inactivity. But purpose doesn't end at an achievement. It expands through it. The Creator didn't design you for comfort. He designed you for contribution. Every time you stop growing, you violate your design. Think of a lion. Even after a successful hunt, it doesn't retire. It doesn't decide it's proven enough. Why? Because its nature is not what it did yesterday. Its nature is what it is, a hunter. And so are you. You are not what you've done. You are not your titles or trophies. You are your nature, built to create, to grow, to become. The moment you stop expressing that nature, you start dying on the inside. Every created thing has purpose, and that purpose determines its potential. A seed's purpose is to become a tree, not a building. Likewise, your purpose holds the boundaries of your potential. When you settle for comfort, you confine what you were meant to become. You start maintaining instead of creating. You turn your life into a museum of past victories instead of a movement of ongoing growth. The graveyard is the richest place on earth because it's filled with unfulfilled potential, books never written, dreams never pursued, love never expressed, all buried by comfort. Comfort convinces you that rest is the same as resignation, that peace is the same as safety. But real peace isn't the absence of difficulty. It's the presence of purpose. You might be tired. Yes, rest, recover. But don't mistake rest for retirement. Don't let your pause become your end point. The same Creator who gave you strength to climb your last mountain is waiting to give you strength for the next one. You are still breathing because your purpose is still unfolding. Growth requires pressure. Seeds only transform by cracking open. The pressure isn't punishment, it's preparation. If you're feeling stretched, good. It means you're alive. But if everything in your life feels easy and predictable, you're probably not growing, you're decaying in comfort. There is no neutral in life. You're either evolving or eroding. Comfort doesn't just stop motion, it murders hunger. It replaces curiosity with complacency. It makes you afraid to begin again because starting over feels beneath someone who made it. But purpose doesn't care about your resume. It calls you beyond it. The truth is, what you've done so far isn't proof you're finished. It's proof you're capable. Every victory was just training for what's next. The whisper inside you that says there's more isn't dissatisfaction, it's destiny. And you can ignore it, but it won't leave you alone because it's not coming from outside. It's coming from your design. So don't let your past success become your future prison. Don't choose the safety of yesterday over the significance of tomorrow. Get uncomfortable again. Step into the unknown again. Dream again. Build again. Because the world doesn't need your comfort, it needs your becoming.